My channel Code Beyond Talk. Many of you were asking to make video on scenario based questions. So I'm going to start a new playlist where I'll be discussing questions, scenario based questions for Spring Boot, which are mostly asked in the interview. So today I'm going to start my first video in the playlist, and the question you can see on my screen is scenario here is you are tasked with creating a Spring Boot application for a library management system, and the application should expose REST APIs to manage books and authors. So question is, how would you set up the project structure, and which Spring Boot dependency would you include in your pom.xml or build.gradle file? So this is the questions, and how will you answer, and how you are going to create that project structure and project in a Spring Boot application, that I'll be discussing. So let's get started. I have already created a project and other things, so I'll just explain step by step so that video is not so long and it's easy to understand as well. So first, to create a project in Spring Boot, you can create project by going to the application Spring Initializr. That is a web. You can go to internet and you can search for Spring Initializr. The first link which you get, you can go to this link, and here you see in this application you can create a Spring Boot project. Like, you can choose Maven. If you want to choose some other like Gradle project and other, you can choose Gradle, but I'll go with Maven. And then language is Java, and Spring Boot version is 3.5. Let it be by default what it is. And then here in project metadata you can give the detail related about your project. So I'll just leave it as it is. Packaging is jar, and Java version is 17, and you can add dependency from here. Like, if you want to add, I'll just give example for Spring Wave. Similarly, you can add for any other. I'll just also add JPA. So you can add all the dependency which are needed, and then you can click this generate button. It will be downloaded in your application, and then you can import that application to any of the IDE. So I have already done that, so I will not do here. So let's now move to the IntelliJ. So here you see I have already imported my library management, and now I'll be discussing that our real scenario based questions, where you need to create a project structure for this library management and what all dependency you will add. So once you import that, you will get that project structure created from that Spring Boot Initializr application, and then in order to make that this project structure, you can see on my left side of the IntelliJ panel. So I'll just close all of this. So first of all, when you import this project in IDE, you will not have this package structure like which you are seeing: controller, DTO model, repository and service. You will only have this library management application, which is that entry point in Spring Boot application. So here you see, you can see that main method is here. So this you will get when you create that application from Spring.Initializr. And to make that project structure, now coming back to the questions, what all I need to do is that, and what all dependency we need to add in order to make that project setup for library management. So first we'll first we will have to create all the project structure, and then we will have to add all the dependency which are needed. So the dependency which will be needed, like to store that book related information, you will be using data JPA. Then to store that value, we need a database, so we'll be having a database as well. And then to create that normal API, we need to have a web dependency, and for the validation you can have a validation dependency, and then for testing you will have a testing dependency. So like these are the minimum dependency which you should add. So I will just discuss. We know like in Spring Boot project, to add the dependency we have a file called pom.xml. So this is the place where you add all the dependency in a Spring Boot project. If it is a Maven project, if it is a Gradle project, then you will have build.gradle file. So depending upon like which project you have created, you can add your dependency here. So now I'll just discuss what all dependency we need to add. So here you can see I have added this Spring Boot starter web. So this is the dependency which are needed in order to create your APIs like a get, put, post. So those things will be coming from this dependency. And then the next dependency is data JPA dependency. So in order to save your all the details in the database, or to map your Java model classes with the database table, this Spring starter data JPA is needed, which gives all the annotations related for mapping your Pojo classes to the database table, like @entity, @id, and other annotations. And then third dependency we'll be adding is this Spring Boot starter validation. So this is for if you want to have some validation on your field, you can do with the help of this dependency. Then uh, since you need a database as well, you can add any database. I have added Postgres database because that is installed in my local system. So whichever database you have, you will be adding the dependency for that database. I have PostgreSQL, so I have added for PostgreSQL. And then we have test dependency. So if you want to test your functionality like unit testing, you can have this starter test dependency. So like these are the minimum dependency which will be required in order to set up this library management. And if you see some more details here in the pom.xml, where you can see you have like group ID, artifact ID, version, name of the project, and the descriptions. So all those things detail you can see here. You can see that version of your Java which you have used at the time of project creation. So for me it is 17, so it is showing 17. So these are the details in the pom.xml, and these are the dependency will be required in order to do that project setup. So now since we are done with the dependency, now I'll move on to the project structure, like what all project structure and what all packages are required in order to do that setup. So in Spring Boot we have like controller, service, model, repository, etc. So the minimum requirement in order to create that project structure is we will be having like controller, service, model, repository. So we have a model. So first let's we have a model. So we have a author class and the book class, and then we have a DTO. If you want to have some custom response kind of thing, then you can create a DTO for this. So we have a model, then we have a DTO, and then you will have a controller. So in controller you can have a separate controller, as question asked only for the book controller and author controller. So you can have a separate controller for both author and book. Then you will have service as well. So in the service you can have author service and book service. Then you will have repository. So you will have author repository and book repository. And then you will have a application dot properties. So in application dot properties you will be writing all the configuration which are needed. So here you can see I have database configuration. So I have given like URL of the database, then username, password, and the driver, and then some JPA configuration. So these are the minimum that you need to have in your application dot properties file. So like these are the basic which will be needed just to create that project structure, and this is ready. So now if I go to this main class and if I run, I should be able to run this project successfully. So let me run this project. and here you see I am able to run this project. Here in the bottom you can see that Tomcat is started on port 8080. So I am successfully able to run this project and create this project structure for library management. So this is how you will be answering when somebody asks you these questions in interview. And if you have any doubt, let me know in the comment section. I hope that I was able to make you understand. If there is any questions which you have or you want to ask anything else, let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.